On June 18, 2025, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration (FDA) made a groundbreaking announcement with the approval of Yeztugo, a biannual injection for the prevention of HIV known generically as lenacapavir. This development is a significant milestone in the ongoing fight against HIV/AIDS, a virus that currently affects around 1.2 million people in the United States and is responsible for over 31,800 new infections each year, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC). Clinical trials and efficacy. Yeztugo's approval was based on compelling clinical trial data that showcased its effectiveness in preventing HIV infections. In a pivotal trial involving 2,134 participants, there were 0 reported infections among those receiving the injection. Another trial, which included 2,179 participants, only recorded 2 infections. These results have generated excitement within the public health community, as the drug provides a new option for individuals at high risk of contracting HIV. Manufacturer's perspective. Gilead Sciences, the pharmaceutical company behind Yeztugo, has emphasized the drug's potential to help achieve the ambitious goal of ending the HIV epidemic. CEO Daniel O'Day expressed optimism, stating that Yeztugo presents a very real opportunity to make significant strides in public health outcomes related to HIV prevention. Pricing and market impact. The annual list price for Yeztugo has been set at approximately $28,218 before insurance, aligning with the costs of other branded HIV prevention medications on the market. Following the FDA's announcement, Gilead's stock experienced a brief surge, reflecting optimism from investors regarding the drug's potential market impact and future sales. However, the stock's value swiftly stabilized, mirroring broader market trends. Yeztugo complements Gilead's existing portfolio of pre-exposure prophylaxis PrEP options, which includes daily oral medications such as Truvada and Descovy. The introduction of a biannual injection is expected to address long-standing barriers related to adherence and accessibility that have historically limited the effectiveness of daily oral PrEP medications. Broader context and challenges. Despite the promising developments surrounding Yeztugo, the approval comes amid significant challenges in HIV research and prevention efforts. Reports indicate that funding and staffing cuts to the CDC during the Trump administration have adversely affected HIV surveillance and research, particularly among populations disproportionately impacted by the virus, such as men who have sex with men. These challenges underscore the critical need for sustained investment and support in HIV prevention and treatment initiatives. Conclusion and future directions. In summary, the FDA's approval of Yeztugo marks a pivotal advancement in HIV prevention strategies, offering a new, less frequent option for individuals at risk of HIV infection. The encouraging clinical trial data highlights the injection's potential effectiveness, while its pricing raises questions about initial access and distribution. As health officials and advocates work to integrate this innovative tool into existing public health frameworks, it remains essential to address the ongoing need for robust support and funding in the fight against HIV/AIDS. The approval of Yeztugo not only represents a significant leap in medical advancements but also brings renewed hope for the eventual goal of eradicating HIV as a public health threat. The FDA's approval of Yeztugo lenacapavir, an innovative biannual HIV prevention injection, on June 18, 2025, marks a transformative moment in the ongoing battle against HIV/AIDS. This drug's introduction could redefine public health strategies and tackle long-standing issues associated with HIV prevention, particularly adherence to treatment regimens. Counterintuitive information. 1. Efficacy versus accessibility. While Yeztugo demonstrated remarkable efficacy in clinical trials, 0 infections in one study of over 2,000 participants, there remains uncertainty about initial access to the drug. This points to a paradox where a highly effective treatment may not be readily available to those who need it most, primarily due to its high list price of approximately $28,218 annually before insurance. This price aligns with other branded HIV prevention medications, challenging the assumption that more effective treatments would be more accessible. 2. Market reaction. Gilead Sciences stock initially surged following the announcement of Yeztugo's approval, reflecting optimism about the drug's potential impact on the company's earnings. However, the stock quickly settled back to a flat position, indicating a disconnect between the anticipated market value of a groundbreaking drug and the realities of broader market movements. This suggests that market confidence in pharmaceutical innovations does not always translate into sustained financial gains. 3. Funding cuts and research impact. Despite the promising advancements represented by Yeztugo, the approval comes at a time when funding for HIV research and prevention has been cut, particularly during the Trump administration. This counterintuitive reality indicates that while new treatments are being developed, the systemic support necessary to implement and promote these innovations may be declining. This raises questions about the sustainability of progress in HIV prevention amid reduced funding for crucial research and outreach, especially for populations disproportionately affected by HIV. 4. Potential overlook of daily treatment options. The introduction of a biannual injection like Yeztugo could overshadow existing daily oral PrEP options such as Truvada and Descovy. While the biannual injection addresses adherence issues, it may inadvertently lead to the perception that daily medications are less effective or less relevant despite their proven efficacy. This could create confusion and potentially alienate patients who are already managing their treatment successfully with daily pills. 5. Public health goals versus market forces. Gilead CEO Daniel O'Day emphasized that Yeztugo offers a very real opportunity to help end the HIV epidemic. However, the simultaneous challenges of high drug pricing and funding cuts suggest a conflict between public health goals and the realities of pharmaceutical market dynamics. The notion that a private company can single-handedly drive public health outcomes through a high-cost product could obscure the need for systemic public health investments and equitable access to care. 6. Impact on surveillance and outreach. The cuts to CDC funding have reportedly hindered surveillance and research on HIV, particularly among marginalized populations. This reality contradicts the narrative that new treatments alone can resolve public health issues. Effective prevention strategies require comprehensive public health approaches, including education, outreach, and robust data collection, which are jeopardized by reduced funding. In summary, the approval of Yeztugo represents a significant advancement in HIV prevention. However, the intricacies of its potential impact reveal counterintuitive challenges related to access, market dynamics, research funding, and public health strategy. Addressing these challenges will be crucial to realizing the full benefits of this innovative treatment in combating HIV/AIDS. The FDA's approval of Yeztugo, a biannual injection for HIV prevention, on June 18, 2025, is a monumental development in the field of public health, particularly in the fight against HIV/AIDS. While many aspects of this report are significant, several critical points may be overlooked by the general public, yet they hold profound implications for future public health strategies, accessibility of treatment, and the broader context of HIV research funding. 1. Long-term adherence and accessibility. One of the most important yet potentially overlooked aspects of Yeztugo is its administration schedule. Traditional HIV prevention methods, primarily daily oral PrEP pre-exposure prophylaxis regimens like Truvada and Descovy, have faced significant adherence challenges. Patients often forget doses or discontinue use, leading to decreased efficacy and potential new infections. Yeztugo's biannual dosing could significantly mitigate these issues, making it easier for at-risk populations to maintain consistent protection against HIV. This shift in administration frequency not only simplifies the regimen for patients but also has the potential to dramatically increase the overall effectiveness of HIV prevention strategies. If individuals are less burdened by the daily routine of taking pills, it could lead to higher uptake rates among populations historically underserved by these treatments. This point is significant because the success of public health initiatives often hinges on patient adherence to prescribed regimens. 2. Cost and insurance concerns. The list price of Yeztugo is approximately $28,218 annually before insurance, which aligns with other branded HIV prevention medications. While this price point may seem consistent with market standards, the financial implications for individuals without adequate insurance coverage are substantial. The report indicates that it's unclear who will initially have access to the drug, raising concerns about equity in healthcare access. Many individuals at risk for HIV, particularly those in marginalized communities, may not have the necessary insurance to afford this treatment. As public health advocates push for broader access to HIV prevention, the financing and distribution of Yeztugo will be crucial. The significance here lies in the potential for exacerbating existing health disparities if equitable access to this new preventive measure is not prioritized. 3. Impact of funding cuts on HIV research. The report underscores a critical issue that has persisted in the background: the cuts to funding and staffing at the CDC during the previous administration, which significantly impacted HIV surveillance and research. This historical context is vital because it highlights the fragility of progress in public health and the ongoing challenges that threaten to undermine advancements like Yeztugo. The importance of sustained funding cannot be overstated. Without adequate financial support for research, education, and outreach, the potential benefits of new treatments like Yeztugo could be diminished. The historical perspective on funding cuts also serves as a cautionary tale about the need for stable public health infrastructure to support ongoing efforts in combating diseases like HIV/AIDS. 4. Broader implications for ending the HIV epidemic. Gilead Sciences CEO Daniel O'Day referred to Yeztugo as a very real opportunity to help end the HIV epidemic. This statement carries significant weight as it reflects a pivotal moment in the ongoing efforts to combat HIV. However, it's essential to recognize that while new treatments are incredibly promising, they are not a panacea. Ending the HIV epidemic requires a multifaceted approach that includes comprehensive education, stigma reduction, access to healthcare, and ongoing public health initiatives. Yeztugo can be a game changer, but its success will depend on how well it is integrated into existing prevention strategies and how effectively public health campaigns are executed to promote awareness and uptake. 5. Psychosocial barriers and stigma. The introduction of a new HIV prevention method also shines a light on the psychosocial barriers that continue to affect at-risk populations. Stigma associated with HIV/AIDS can deter individuals from seeking prevention or treatment options. The move to biannual injections may help alleviate some of the stigma associated with daily medication, but it does not eliminate it altogether. Public health messaging must evolve to address these stigma-related issues directly, ensuring that individuals feel empowered to access and utilize preventive measures without fear of judgment or discrimination. This is significant as it speaks to the broader societal attitudes toward HIV/AIDS and the need for cultural shifts alongside medical advancements. Conclusion. The FDA's approval of Yeztugo is undoubtedly a significant milestone in HIV prevention efforts, but it is crucial to look beyond the surface of this development. Important factors such as long-term adherence, accessibility, and cost, the impact of funding cuts on research, the comprehensive approach needed to end the epidemic, and the ongoing challenges of stigma and psychosocial barriers are all vital components that will determine the ultimate success of this innovative treatment. As public health officials and advocates work to integrate Yeztugo into existing frameworks, it is essential to keep these overlooked yet significant issues at the forefront of discussions. Only by addressing these complexities can we ensure that the promise of this new biannual injection translates into real-world benefits for those most at risk of HIV infection. 1. Significance of Yeztugo in HIV prevention. The FDA's approval of Yeztugo lenacapavir represents a groundbreaking advancement in HIV prevention strategies. With clinical trials showing remarkable efficacy, 0 infections among 2,134 participants in one study and only 2 infections among 2,179 in another, Yeztugo introduces a biannual injection option that could significantly improve adherence rates and accessibility for at-risk populations. This shift from daily oral PrEP to a twice-yearly injectable could help mitigate barriers to consistent medication intake, potentially reducing new HIV infections and moving closer to the goal of ending the HIV epidemic. 2. Economic implications and pricing. Yeztugo's annual list price of approximately $28.218 before insurance aligns with existing branded HIV prevention medications, raising critical questions about affordability and accessibility. While the drug's cost is comparable to other treatments, the financial burden on individuals without insurance or adequate coverage could hinder widespread adoption. Additionally, Gilead Sciences' stock performance, which saw a spike following the announcement, highlights the economic stakes involved in pharmaceutical advancements, as investor confidence in the company's future earnings is closely tied to the success of its HIV treatments. 3. Impact of funding cuts on HIV research. The backdrop of the FDA's approval includes significant challenges stemming from cuts to CDC funding during the Trump administration, which have adversely affected HIV research and surveillance, particularly among vulnerable populations such as men who have sex with men. This context underscores the importance of sustained public health funding and research support to ensure that innovations like Yeztugo are effectively integrated into broader prevention strategies. The interplay between policy decisions and public health outcomes emphasizes the need for advocacy and investment in health infrastructure to combat diseases like HIV. 4. Integration into public health frameworks. As Yeztugo is poised to enter the market, its integration into existing public health frameworks will be crucial for maximizing its impact. Health officials and advocates must navigate logistical challenges such as distribution and outreach to ensure that at-risk populations are informed about and have access to this new preventive option. Furthermore, ongoing education about HIV prevention and treatment will be essential to complement the introduction of Yeztugo, ensuring that it effectively contributes to the reduction of new infections and supports the overall goal of ending the HIV epidemic. 1. Approval of the first antiretroviral drug for HIV. 1987. In March 1987, the FDA approved azithromycin, the first drug for the treatment of HIV/AIDS. This marked a significant breakthrough in the fight against the epidemic, which had emerged in the early 1980s. Prior to its approval, there were no effective treatments for HIV and the disease was rapidly worsening, leading to thousands of deaths. AZT was initially developed as a cancer treatment but was repurposed after researchers discovered its effectiveness in inhibiting the virus's replication. The approval of AZT not only provided hope to those living with HIV but also paved the way for the development of more advanced antiretroviral therapies that have drastically changed the prognosis for people living with HIV. 2. The introduction of PrEP. 2012. In July 2012, the FDA approved Truvada as the first medication for pre-exposure prophylaxis PrEP to prevent HIV infection. This decision was a landmark moment in HIV prevention strategies, offering a proactive option for individuals at high risk of contracting the virus. Clinical trials showed that when taken consistently, Truvada reduced the risk of HIV transmission by up to 92%. The approval of PrEP expanded the public health toolkit to combat HIV/AIDS, allowing individuals to take control of their sexual health. The widespread adoption of PrEP has since contributed to a decline in new infections in various demographics, particularly among men who have sex with men. 3. The approval of a new class of HIV medications. 2015. In 2015, the FDA approved the first integrase strand transfer inhibitor, tivic-dolutegravir, marking a new class of antiretroviral drugs. This class of medication works by preventing the HIV virus from integrating its genetic material into the host cell's DNA, thus blocking viral replication. The approval of Tivicay represented a significant advancement in HIV treatment options, offering a potent and well-tolerated alternative to existing therapies. It became a cornerstone of HIV treatment regimens, contributing to improved health outcomes for people living with HIV. The success of integrase inhibitors has encouraged ongoing research into new treatments that enhance efficacy and reduce side effects. The FDA's approval of Yeztugo, a biannual injection for HIV prevention, marks a pivotal moment in the fight against HIV/AIDS. As we look toward the future, several predictions can be made regarding its impact on public health, patient outcomes, and the broader landscape of HIV prevention. 1. Increased accessibility and adherence. Yeztugo's biannual dosing schedule addresses significant barriers associated with daily oral medications such as adherence and stigma. It is likely that this innovative approach will lead to higher uptake rates among at-risk populations. As healthcare providers begin to integrate Yeztugo into their practices, we can anticipate a shift in how HIV prevention is delivered. Mobile health clinics and telehealth services may expand access, especially in underserved communities, facilitating greater reach to individuals who might otherwise forego prevention strategies. 2. Enhanced public health campaigns. The introduction of Yeztugo will likely prompt renewed investment in public health campaigns aimed at raising awareness about HIV prevention options. These campaigns could focus on educating both healthcare providers and the public about the efficacy and availability of biannual injections, potentially leading to a cultural shift in attitudes toward HIV prevention. With a more effective prevention tool at hand, the public health narrative may evolve to emphasize the goal of ending the HIV epidemic, aligning with the aspirations stated by Gilead's CEO. 3. Impact on HIV infection rates. With promising clinical trial results showing nearly complete prevention of HIV infections, Yeztugo has the potential to significantly reduce new infections among at-risk populations. If widely adopted, we could see a marked decline in annual infection rates, contributing to the long-term goal of ending the HIV epidemic. Public health officials may utilize data from ongoing surveillance to track the drug's impact, allowing for necessary adjustments in strategy. 4. Economic implications for healthcare systems. The annual list price of Yeztugo, set at approximately $28,218, raises questions about insurance coverage and affordability. Over time, we may see negotiations between pharmaceutical companies, insurers, and federal programs to ensure broader access. As more individuals adopt Yeztugo, healthcare systems might experience shifts in cost dynamics, with potential savings from reduced long-term treatment costs associated with managing HIV infections. Additionally, the economic burden of HIV on healthcare systems could decrease as fewer people require treatment for new infections. 5. Research and development innovations. Yeztugo's success could catalyze further research into innovative HIV prevention methods, including long-acting formulations and combination therapies. This may lead to advancements in the development of additional vaccines and preventive measures as Gilead and other pharmaceutical companies invest in R&D to maintain competitive advantages in the market. The momentum generated by Yeztugo could inspire new breakthroughs in HIV treatment and prevention globally. 6. Addressing disparities in HIV infection rates. Historically, certain populations, particularly men who have sex with men and communities of color, have been disproportionately affected by HIV. The integration of Yeztugo into public health initiatives may help target these groups more effectively. With tailored outreach programs and targeted funding, health officials could work to address these disparities, ensuring equitable access to preventive measures and possibly reducing the incidence of HIV in these communities. 7. Policy and funding shifts. As the landscape of HIV prevention evolves, we may witness shifts in policy and funding priorities. The positive reception of Yeztugo could prompt increased federal and state funding for HIV prevention initiatives, reversing some of the cuts seen in previous years. Enhanced funding could support comprehensive educational programs, bolster research initiatives, and ensure that all individuals have access to prevention tools, regardless of socioeconomic status. 8. Global implications. The approval of Yeztugo is not just a national milestone but has global implications as well. Countries grappling with high HIV prevalence may look to the U.S. approval as a model for their own public health strategies. As Gilead and other pharmaceutical companies expand access to Yeztugo internationally, we can anticipate a ripple effect that may lead to decreased global infection rates and a more coordinated international response to the HIV epidemic. Conclusion. The FDA's approval of Yeztugo represents a significant advancement in the fight against HIV/AIDS with far-reaching implications for public health. As we look to the future, the potential for enhanced accessibility, increased adherence, and reduced infection rates presents an optimistic outlook. However, the success of Yeztugo will hinge on effective implementation, ongoing funding, and comprehensive public health strategies to ensure that all populations benefit from this innovative preventive measure. The journey towards ending the HIV epidemic is complex, but with tools like Yeztugo we are moving closer to a hopeful future.